you start out at first for girls, or you start out because you're insecure, or you start out because you just want to pick up a new hobby or something, but it ends up becoming deeper than that. And video number 1, who am I? So my name is Hanny Khaled, and I've been in love with fitness, bodybuilding, nutrition, pretty much my entire conscious life past like middle school. And I've been researching for the last 5 years everything about fitness, nutrition, everything I can learn, everything possible, because I wanted to be the best physical version of myself as soon as I could. I used to watch WWE all the time growing up. I loved watching the wrestlers, and their physiques were always insane. Obviously they weren't natural, but Randy Orton was my favorite wrestler growing up. I loved his physique, I loved his persona, I loved his look, everything. I used to get these figures and I would play with them, and I always just wanted to look that way, you know? And in my head I was like, as soon as I can, I'm gonna look this way. I'm gonna be jacked, I'm gonna be shredded. And as soon as I could, I took action. But before that, I was skinny fat. And being skinny fat, you don't really know how to feel, because you can wear a shirt and look normal. But then when you don't wear a shirt, you feel horrible, you know? You don't ever want to take your shirt off. I always avoided going to the pool, or I avoided doing anything that involved taking my shirt off, because I knew people would see that and I thought they would judge me. So it's hard being skinny, fat, all of it, it's hard. Personally, I just resonate with the skinny fat, because that's where I started, and that's where I had to build off. So when I was 14, I decided to go to Planet Fitness with my dad a couple times a week, just doing random stuff, you know, didn't really know what I was doing. But then, you know, as soon as quarantine hit in 2020, which I'm sure was a hard time for everybody, I took that as an opportunity to become the best version of myself. And I was like, what, all this free time, why wouldn't I do this, you know? I thought it was a no-brainer, but a lot of the people around me were just kind of using it to play video games, or using it to goof off, and they didn't really care the way I did. So I knew I was different. It was just what I wanted to do, you know? It wasn't, I didn't have to think about it. It was just, this is free time I have that I'm going to be able to improve myself more than I've ever been able to before. So every single day, I got up at 7 a.m. and I biked 10 miles. And I went and did a calisthenics workout at a local park. And at night, I would just lift with backpacks filled with a couple dumbbells, some books, nails, screws, anything with weight, because I was trying to just work out as much as possible, because I thought that was the best way, you know, more is better. Obviously that's not true, but it did give me some results, you know. Newbie gains are real. Any kind of stimulus will cause you growth in your first year. So I had a pretty good transformation. I'll put pictures up, but that was just based off a few months of not even legit training or legit nutrition. I wasn't really, or I was tracking, but I just made sure I was eating enough protein, and everything else I was kind of just low-key starving myself, because I was doing so much activity and not eating enough. But that led me to recomp, and I lost a bunch of fat and gained some muscle. And that was all I wanted at that point, so I was happy. But working out for the physical becomes deeper. And I'm sure a lot of guys will agree with that. Like, you start out at first for girls, or you start out because you're insecure, or you start out because you just want to pick up a new hobby or something, but it ends up becoming deeper than that. And what I mean is, like, especially for me, I can speak for myself when I say that when I was a sophomore, I was extremely lonely. And sophomore in high school, I had no friends. I cut off all my friends. I had an avoidant family, and I had no girlfriend. It felt like it was just me and my life. It felt like all I had was myself, and all I can work on is myself. And, you know, being that young and experiencing something like that makes you crave loneliness eventually because you're so used to it. And that all stems from me being skinny fat, which is crazy. That's how it starts, but it starts so little and it increases. And then I started going to the gym as soon as it opened after quarantine. Went to Crunch Fitness, and I still remember having that mask on, going every single morning. And I had a full-time job during that summer between sophomore and junior year. So I would get up at like 7, 8, go to the gym, go to work at 12, and get off at 8 or 8:30. That's just what I did every day. Didn't hang out with anyone, no girls, but I was happy. And I was so focused on my goals and what I wanted to do that I didn't have time to be sad. And that also comes from me thinking, depression really isn't real, in my opinion. Depression is just you having too much free time and you overthink everything and you're upset about your situation. Obviously excluding people with hard traumas and difficult things in their life where there's really no other option. But when it's people, they say I'm depressed, and then all they do is they wake up late, they don't know what they're gonna do for the day. They have a job, but it's a dead-end job. And they don't go to school, they have no goals. At night, the night comes around, they go smoke, they go drink, they go party. And that's emptiness, that's a hole. That's you trying to fill a void with these small doses of dopamine, small gratifications. You're thinking in the now. You're thinking of what you want to feel right now. How am I going to feel better right now? What can I do now to make me feel better now? Instead of what can I do now to make me feel better in the future? That's what happens in these people's mind. That's what they think. Now, I don't blame any of these people because this is just a superficial way of thinking. This is how most people begin to think. We're emotional beings. And if you let your emotions control you and what you do every day, it never ends well, okay? It never ends the way you want it to. Everybody will say that they want to succeed. Everybody will say that they want a future for themselves, that they want to be able to provide for them and their family, that they want financial freedom. But they think about, what can I do now to make me feel better, instead of what can I do to get me to that financial freedom, or to get me to where I want to be in 5 years. I've realized this recently. I've been down a hole. I just went through a breakup about 4 or 5 months ago. At that point in life, I was lost. I knew I wanted to be something more, but I didn't know how to do it, when to do it. I had this part of me holding myself back. Once you realize the only person that's holding you back is you can take action. This was a bad breakup for me because, this is the first girl that I've loved. First girl that helped me understand what being loved feels like. And I didn't know how to take it. And emotionally, I couldn't handle it. And I didn't know that until it was too late. But besides the point, it taught me a lot, and I'm still learning a lot. And I'm reading and I'm finding clarity in my life, starting from this breakup. There's a lot of things that life will teach you. There's a lot of things you can learn. But it's up to you if you want to learn or if you want to ignore it and listen to your feelings. Everything comes down to what you want for yourself. I wanted to stop being skinny fat, and I knew how to change that, and I did. And now I want to be the best version of myself, and I want to build my business, and I want to build my brand, and I want to become more personable, and I want to become more human emotionally. And I want to open up as a human. I want to become free. I want to be liberated of my thoughts. And I think everybody should be liberated. This is step number 1. Liberation is freedom of the soul. And feeling true liberation takes time, and it takes understanding, and it takes you being so low. And any type of growth, I feel like, takes you being so low, being in such a low spot where all you can do is go up. And all you know that you need to do is go up. And the pain of staying comfortable and the pain of being that low is so much worse than the pain. And the pain of pushing yourself to improve. And all you can do is improve. And I want to come on here and I want to help guys like me that have been in my position improve, that were skinny fat or that were in a hard moment in their life and they didn't know what to do, because I didn't know what to do. And I didn't know what to do when I was skinny fat, but I figured it out the hard way. And now I want to give you guys the easy way out and help you the best as I can. Young men, liberation is freedom.